Lloyds TSB has been voted Bank of the Year 5 years running. We spoke to Nick Whitmarsh, Senior Manager for Commercial Banking at Lloyds, about what products are on offer to businesses. It's been a terrible year for businesses, with access to finance being really difficult. Do you see it getting any better in the new year?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question, because it has been a tough year for business in all sorts of different sectors. I think as far as access to finance is concerned, then as a bank we feel that we've been there for the majority of this year in a fairly cautious approach. Our credit policy hasn't largely changed this year, and we want to build on that as we go out in 2010. Charter recently launched only last week, which was talking about access to finance and how we're going to help start-up businesses going forward into 2010.
So how is Lloyds responding to the needs of businesses for finance?
Well, we are constantly finding that we are having to overcome people's lack of appetite, I think, is probably the biggest issue around that. We're constantly, with regard to our customers and also with regard to professionals that we work with, on a rolling round robin of just letting people know that we're open for business, because in a lot of cases we're finding that people don't believe banks are lending, and therefore they don't come with the proposition in the first place. And in the course of this year, we found that applications are probably down 20% on where they were last year, but our overall lending growth has actually gone up by 20% in that time.
That's interesting. So what's Lloyds 2012 SME Charter all about?
Well, it's something we brought a charter in earlier this year, which was primarily aimed at businesses turning over up to £1 million, and we've widened that now up to a £15 million turnover and broken it into 3 distinct areas. Now, one of those is all about encouraging enterprise for 2010, and within that we've made a fairly bold statement saying that we're looking for 300,000 start-up businesses over the course of the next 3 years. And how we're looking to support that is by beefing up our online presence and providing a lot of support to new businesses over that sort of period. And in addition, we're going to run 600 seminars across the country. I think there's 2 strands to the seminars. Firstly, primarily, is to give people the opportunity to network with like-minded people who can do business with each other as well. Secondly, is to just increase awareness of the sorts of things that could be available that may help them be successful in their business, whether it's helping tender for 2012 Olympics, we're a key sponsor, whether it's just helping with cash flow or exporting, sustainability, those sorts of things in there. So that's all really within the encouraging the enterprise side. With regard to access to finance, clearly we can't always support every request we get, but we just need to ensure that we're meeting every possible request that we can do for medium-term finance where it is a viable proposition. Equally trying to help as many customers as we can through what has been a very difficult period, and will continue to be so for some sectors as we come out. And we're also very keen that we don't just reduce people's overdraft facilities and credit lines unless there's a material change to the amount of risk that's there. The third element, I guess, is all really around clarity and transparency of pricing. And within that, we've stated that we will not charge fees above 1.5% as far as arrangement fees are concerned for lending. And similarly, we will not change interest rates from where they are agreed. And the only time that we may ever consider that is if there is a material change to risk again on that pricing to risk strategy. So those are the 3 core threads of the charter just recently announced.
And you're looking, across the country, you're looking at helping support 300,000 new business startups.
Yeah.
What about on the island? What's the picture here, do you think?
I think it's very difficult to actually quote a figure as to what we want to look for. It's really a question of last year, in 2008, we were in a position where 100 businesses switched to Lloyds TSB from another financial services provider on the island. We're on target to deliver the same again in 2009. So within that, everything that we do is all around our service proposition and the people working on the island with our local footprint that enables us to be in a position to attract those businesses. Similarly, this year we are in a situation where over 200 start-up businesses have opened with ourselves this year. And again, that's in line with what we were targeted to do. We're looking to increase that, but we're also investing into our relationship management population to be there out and about that much more, to make much more awareness of brand and what we can deliver for people to deliver going forward.
Okay. So what sort of finance is available from banks? Is it overdrafts, loans? How does it sort of break down?
There's a whole suite of different elements of finance that are available. Traditionally, yes, overdrafts and loans. Within the loan element, we're also a very, very big sponsor of the government's Enterprise Finance Guarantee Scheme, which can help support where potentially in some cases security may not be available. We've probably in the region of about 1 in 4 loans of the overall Enterprise Finance Guarantee Scheme have been done by Lloyds. We will have done between 12 and 20 by the end of this year actually on the island that have actually helped people in situations where otherwise they would not have been able to raise finance. So that's a slight segmentation of the loan strategy that's there. What we can also do is provide asset finance and actually lend against purchase price of assets. In addition to that, we can use our commercial finance arm where you've got, again, products such as factoring and invoice discounting where we can lend money against the debtor book of businesses out there as well. So there's a whole suite of different facilities available in complementary also with things like residential mortgages, which can sometimes be used to raise finance to inject into a business, but a whole wide variety is still available.
And what about security? Does the bank expect to take more security now than before the crisis?
The bank will basically want a viable business proposition, and only just today we've been with some agents and saying that there are cases where we will do 100% funding. It all depends upon the track record of the individual, it depends upon the viability of the business plan, has to be paramount to us, and then behind that we will then look at things like security to see where we stand. But I think ultimately we would never want to lead anybody into a proposition where potentially they may not be successful coming out, because we never want to realise the security.
So are you as a bank focusing on startups, or is there assistance available for businesses looking to grow or just needing help with managing their cash flow?
We are looking to help every single business, whether they bank with us or whether they don't want to bank with us, whether they're not banking with us at the present time. With regard to our existing offer for clients, we're just at the moment going through a process of reducing the portfolio sizes for my relationship management team on the island, so it enables them to spend more time with the clients that they look after to get to understand the businesses even better and what their needs are. Similarly, we will be looking to attract as many businesses as we can do from other financial institutions that are mature businesses, and it's right across the whole spectrum. We want to help startups and we want to help existing mature businesses at whatever stage they are. But we're very, very keen to not just work as a bank, but to work in sort of a triangle, I suppose, with regard to lawyers and accountants, and making certain that people are getting the right advice right across the whole spectrum of the needs of the business.
And what about the future? Are you hopeful the next year will be a better one for business on the island?
I would say cautiously optimistic would be my view, and I think those are the colleagues and professionals I talk to. I think if we're looking at the macro picture and think that the government need to raise some money from somewhere, and maybe depending on how they raise those funds and what the effect is then on the people that they have raised those funds from, could then determine how quickly we come out of recession. Clearly, I think we will say we will come out of recession, but it's a question of how quickly and at what speed that we will move forward. But I would say cautiously optimistic for 2010.